The Kelvin timeline was one of the boldest gambles in the long history of Star Trek. When J.J. Abrams rebooted the franchise with Star Trek, he delivered something the series desperately needed at the time: energy, spectacle, and a gateway for a new generation of fans. For many viewers, the Kelvin movies were thrilling, emotional, and visually stunning. And yet, as much as I enjoyed them, I'm oddly relieved that this era of Star Trek is likely over. The Kelvin timeline, created after the destruction of the USS Kelvin in the opening moments of the 2009 film, allowed the franchise to retell classic stories with a twist. Seeing younger versions of legendary characters like James T. Kirk and Spock brought a fresh perspective to familiar icons. Performances from Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and the rest of the cast struck a careful balance between homage and reinvention. The trilogy, which includes Star Trek Into Darkness and Star Trek Beyond, delivered plenty of memorable moments. The fast-paced action, sweeping visual effects, and larger-than-life stakes helped reintroduce Star Trek to mainstream movie audiences. At a time when big-budget science fiction was dominated by other franchises, the Kelvin films proved that Star Trek could still compete on the cinematic stage. But the same elements that made the Kelvin movies exciting also pushed them further away from what many longtime fans love about Star Trek. The franchise has always thrived on thoughtful storytelling, philosophical dilemmas, and character-driven exploration. In contrast, the Kelvin films leaned heavily into blockbuster spectacle. They were fun rides, but sometimes they felt more like space action movies than classic Star Trek adventures. Another issue was the timeline itself. By creating an alternate universe, the films separated themselves from the rich continuity built by decades of series like Star Trek, the original series, and Star Trek: The Next Generation. While the idea offered creative freedom, it also made the movies feel slightly disconnected from the broader Star Trek universe. That's why I'm relieved the Kelvin era seems to have reached its natural,